Hello there, friends. Andrea with the Bangs here, and I have just returned from a nice little family vacation, visiting some friends in the Lower Mainland, for those of you who are not Canadian. That is the area in the south of BC on the coast, close to Vancouver. And it feels like my voice is sort of going. That usually happens when I'm visiting people and visiting a lot. So I apologize for the, mannishness of my voice. At least it sounds very deep to me. So bear with me with my voice that seems to be coming and going. So this topic of this video, I meant to record this before I left, but instead I figured, people love delayed reactions because not everyone's doing them. So this is a delayed reaction video to Jordan Peterson joining up with the Daily Wire. If you are in the culture war and in the sort of centrist space that I kind of occupy, and I've been going through the culture war, the cultural happenings of the day in this space, you'll probably understand why I have my deep sigh. If you are new to it or more polarized in one or the other direction, you might be like, why the deep sigh? We always thought he was this way, depending on, actually, you can be saying that on both sides. But for me and for others like me, I think that it's difficult to have Peterson join a corporation, conglomerate, media group that is so thoroughly conservative. I have nothing against the Daily Wire as a conservative platform that knows what it is. But I think it's sort of a little bit the same thing that people had against Dave Rubin. Not to the extent, but just coming out and being honest and saying what you are and sort of presenting yourself in a certain way. I feel like I'm really not getting to the point. Okay, a lot of us were drawn to Jordan Peterson in the early years. I'll say 2016, 2017, 2018. Yes, perhaps we heard of him because of his political stance, but a lot of us were drawn to him because of his biblical lectures and his university lectures dealing with mythos and his analysis of Jung and that deeper meaning, the psychological meaning of myth and of particularly of Western myth, Western stories and Western narratives. For me, I absolutely adored his biblical lectures. He did such a good job of melding the psychological, sort of naturalist view alongside of the narrative structure of the Bible, and it helped to really make a lot of bells click. Do bells click? No, they ring. Things click in my mind in understanding the world around me, in the space I was in. I remember I stopped watching TV for that summer. In the evenings, I just played Peterson. Each lecture was about an hour and a half long, particularly of his biblical lectures. And I think there were about 15, maybe 20. I don't remember how many. But to me, that is the peak best Peterson for me. Others might say it was his Maps of Meaning videos where he goes through Pinocchio. But for me, it was that. And I made a comment on my online pastor's Twitter channel. What am I doing? Ugh, silly me. Twitter profile. He put up something about this, a video about this, sort of going over his reaction. He actually did a reaction that was, within the typical amount of time you do an online reaction. And so he shared it on Twitter, and so I'll just read my little comment that I've been having and ruminating around in my head as to what are my thoughts about Peterson joining the Daily Wire. The comment that mentioned by Paul Vanderklay that Peterson should be in Cambridge giving his Exodus lectures, that really resonated with me. I think the biblical lectures are the place for the ideal Peterson. Him joining the Daily Wire feels like one of the darker timelines, one of the darker options for him to have chosen, rather than the ideal option of helping, I suppose, the most people. Because when he was on the side of the Professor Peterson, we'll call him Professor Peterson at the University of Toronto, giving these biblical lectures, giving his talks on standing up, taking responsibility, being the best version of yourself, kind of the accidental self-help, like he's just doing psychological like analyses of things and looking at Jung and myths and such things, but he ended up like clean up your room, that was one of the Peterson things that really reached people, particularly young men, but like people like I'm one of the people it really reached. And you could just really reach through the political, like there wasn't a political thing there, it was just speaking to people's sort of goals and purposes and meaning in their lives. But what he's sort of doing, what it seems like he's doing when he's joining the Daily Wire is, I've got a bit of a switch. I don't want to say a bait and switch, but the Peterson we thought we had, it sort of gets switched to, oh no, he's on the same space that Ben Shapiro was in the beginning when we first saw him in the intellectual dark web. But we all knew that Ben Shapiro was part of the Daily Wire. He made the Daily Wire. He created it, I believe. So we knew that's what we're getting with him, and that's where he's remained. But I think Peterson going over, because he's was a liberal, and it's sort of this, and people who are on the conservative end might be like, no, this is good. He's finally seeing reason. I really want to know what you guys think. If you are just naturally to the right, I really want to know if you think it's a betrayal of him going over to the Daily Wire. If you're like, or if you're like, no, this is great. Finally, he's going over to the side that makes the most sense. I know for me, being more in the middle, and for those who are on the left, it's sort of like, but I thought you were spanning this space. But going over there, you become a pundit, I'll say. And I don't think that's the best place for him. It sort of feels like we were being betrayed, I guess, in what we thought we were getting with him. And like I've been seeing a lot of my video about Peterson, the second wave of him coming back from his rehab stuff. I spoke with Paul Vanderklay and Jonathan Peugeot about it. And I think I talked with David Fuller. Yeah, I was talking with David Fuller. So that's as well about him coming back from that. And I just thought, what potential is here that's going to be actualized? And I was really positive about it in my hopes. But this is why I'm saying it's like one of the darker timelines. I think becoming a pundit turns a whole class of people off to you, unfortunately. And I just think that the good that he could do is being stifled. Although I did see Jonathan Peugeot write in the Symbolic World Facebook group, or maybe it was just on his Facebook, I don't know which, but something about like looking forward to Peterson's Exodus lectures. So maybe he's going to do that. I don't know if they'll be behind a paywall on the Daily Wire. That'll be sad. But, so maybe he is still going to do his Exodus lectures. That would be great. I'd be happy for that. But I'm just disappointed. And it's, sometimes it's like, well, what does this mean? Like you can do an action and I just did this action. I just joined this thing. But there's a sort of overall meaning that's happening. And I would like to know what you think this means. Again, I know this is super delayed as a reaction, but it's my delayed reaction. I haven't really looked into it. I haven't really watched any of his stuff, any of his promos on the Daily Wire. Like I have been trying to not watch too much about it. So this is still my thought over reaction with not much new information. So let me know what you think. I've already mentioned in the past how I sort of feel like I've moved on past that into, well, where Peterson sort of seems to be when I first found him. What does narrative mean? What does it hold in the importance in our understanding of meaning and in the world and who we are in the world? Like, that's the space I've been moving to. That's where I want to start analyzing movies, because those are the narrative of our time, particularly the feminine representation in movies. So that's where I've been moving. I've been moving into this. And so for him, it seems like he's been moving away from that. Have I been going on too much, or have I been going on just enough? Let me know. But yeah, I really am curious to hear your reactions to Peterson's bold move. Let me know in the comments. And I really appreciate when you guys leave comments. Thank you for participating in my channel and interacting with me here. Oh, also, on another note, I have added some decorations. I was speaking about sprucing up the place with Mark. I spoke with him about the intimacy crisis. Anyways, we were talking about how I need to just have more than the barn aged wood in the background. So I'm not sure that I'm going to keep necessarily all of these things. I might switch out. This is a picture of me and my vintage stuff, but I might try to get my channel art up there in place of this. But this is just something that I'm trying just to see how it goes. So if you feel like it also, please drop me a comment about what you think about the background. I think I'm going to go. So, and subscribe as always, because, it makes me feel loved.